Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. And while Cardano is still going down right now, which is normal because I told you a couple of days ago, this will most likely turn into a much bigger ABC structure. And well, the next targets right now are between the 50% extension and the 618, so somewhere between the 58.5 cents level and the 56.7 cents level. Now, of course, we could drop to the 0.76 support level as well, but I don't really want to see that, and if we do that, we might as well get another low. Now, I already know not many people are going to watch this video because there's not much going on in the market, and honestly, I don't really blame you because, I mean, a couple of years ago, when the market was just doing nothing, I used to not watch videos as well, and also, if you are invested in Cardano in the long term, you should not really care about what's going on in the short term anyways, so there's not much to know about this, and I honestly, like I said, you should not care. But if you do care about the short term and you want to trade this or something, then well, I'm here for you. And like I said, we have a 1-2 setup on the chart. I'm expecting another low to get me C wave, and well, yeah, this is the region for the C wave, and then after that we should get a third wave if everything goes all right. Keep in mind, we could invalidate the 1-2 setup here, and if we do, we might as well just test the 0.618 support level again to get another low in the C wave of the second wave of the main third wave. I know I'm saying the word wave a lot anyways. So the third wave, if we do get it, if we do not invalidate the second wave right here, the target for it is 86.9 cents. That would put us above the 200-day moving, well, actually that would put us above the 200-day moving average and the bull market support band. And well, there's going to be resistance right here at about, let's see, 75 cents, and then at about, well, actually at the 200% extension right here. So if we manage to get above this, I think we're actually going to test it at some point. So it would be the perfect time to test it after we get back above it and after we get to the 200% extension right here. And yeah, if we stay above it after we test it, we could do something like we did over here, for example, where we just bounced off of it and we got this huge pump. Of course, I think this pump happened because of some news, but it doesn't really matter. This was still a B wave and it worked as a B wave because it never really went above the first wave high right here. So yeah, we'll see what happens with this. And I told you this a couple of days ago and even yesterday and even today, not much is happening in the market and I'm pretty sure you are aware of it. However, I do have something to talk about and I do have something to say about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, I know I'm talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum a lot, but there's not much else that you need to know. And speaking of Ethereum, let's start with it. And well, right now, it's still not oversold on the weekly chart. Right now it's Sunday, so I don't think we're gonna get that drop today, which means that we are most likely going sideways for another week. Now, I already know people not want to hear this, but it is what it is, and if we do go sideways for another week, it's going to be okay. But I mean, right now we are almost in May, so nothing has really happened, and maybe Ethereum actually wants to just go, down until the end of April, just so we can close a monthly wick right here somewhere, and then in May we could do something like we did right here in the previous, well, actually in the last, 2 years ago, and get some type of bounce in May, but I don't know, maybe that will happen, maybe it will not happen. All I know is that what Ethereum needs to do right now is find some kind of bottom, and until it gets to the oversold territory, nothing is gonna happen. I warned you about this many weeks ago, and I mean, it turned out to be true, and I still think we'll get another low or some kind of double bottom here, and if we do get that, I'm probably going to, I mean, I already have a buying order right here at about $1,420, so if it does, fulfill, then I will be happy with my position. And of course, it could go lower. It could get to like 1,200, 1,100, but I'm gonna buy right here. And I don't really care if I'm gonna profit or not in the short term because I don't really plan on, buying and selling in like a couple of days. I plan on holding this until the end of the year when Ethereum will be at all-time highs again, at least in my opinion. And by the way, that's not financial advice. So yeah, I'm still waiting for, another low or some kind of double bottom here. Now, what happens if we do not get to the oversold territory? Well, I don't think that's going to be that bullish, to be honest with you, because we kind of need to get there and we are so close to getting it, we might as well do it. So that's just my opinion. But anyways, moving on to the Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin is still above the trend line right here, which is actually very bullish. And I told you many times, but if we actually got below it and we stayed below it, this could have been a very bad, let's just say sign for the cycle, but we actually got back above it. So this is good. I told the last couple of times when we finally got back above it, as you can see, we did not really bounce. We did not, of course, we did bounce right here, but this was not really a huge bounce. And it took a couple of weeks to actually break above the bull market support band. And we actually tested the bull market support band after breaking above it. So right now, even if we do get some kind of short-term bounce, I'm probably going to say that we are getting to like 100k maybe, and then we are dropping to like 90k again, just to test the bull market support band like we did right here, and just like we did somewhere around here. So I think even if we get to like 100k, it's still gonna drop a bit after that. And well, after that, I still think Bitcoin has a chance to get to about $140,000 by the end of May. I'm not changing my prediction, and I'm not changing my prediction even though it does not really seem, that valid anymore, because there are like, let's say 40 days left until the end of May. Also, I think I made a mistake, not only the end of May, but the first 2 weeks of June. So we have like 50 something days left, and well, I think it's definitely possible for Bitcoin to do that if we actually break above the bull market support band. And speaking of that, if we go on the 4-hour chart, we are currently at the bull market support band, so we could actually get some type of rejection. And if we do, it would actually be good, because Ethereum could find some type of low right here and get to the oversold territory on the weekly. So I'm looking forward to that right now. And going back to Bitcoin, I want to show you something new about this chart. Now, I already know not many people are going to watch this video, but it's important that you know what's going on here on the 3-month chart. I don't think I've ever looked at this chart before, but you have to understand that according to this chart, we are not in a bear market, because we are still above the moving average right here on the RSI. Now, why am I saying that, and why is this even relevant? Well, because in the previous couple of cycles, after dropping below the moving average on the 3-month chart, that actually confirms that the bear market started. It happened here, and it happened in the previous cycles as well. So as long as we stay above it, we should still be fine. Now, going to the 1-month chart, and as you can see right now, we are currently below the moving average. And I told you this yesterday, but if we get to the moving average and we get rejected, that could be the end of the bull market, because that's exactly what happened in the previous cycle. We broke below the moving average on the RSI, we tried getting back above it, we got rejected right here, and that triggered the bear market. Now, of course, we did get another all-time high right here, so it's definitely possible to get an all-time high here as well before we test the moving average. However, if we get rejected by it, it could be actually very, very bad, so we kind of need to get back above it, and we need to get back above it in May, in my opinion, and stay above it. So we'll see if that happens. Now, I also want to talk about Cardano in this Cardano video, because this is a Cardano video after all. And if you go on the monthly chart right now, we are still, above the moving average right here. However, you have to keep in mind, if we drop to like 50 cents, I think we could actually get a close below the moving average, and that would actually be extremely bearish, because if we want to keep repeating this pattern that we had in the previous cycle, this 1-2-1-2 setup that we have here as well, then we have to stay above the moving average on the monthly chart, because that's what we did right here. We got, I think we actually got below it, but of course on the monthly chart you cannot see it, and we closed a wick above the moving average. So that's what we need to do right now. The correction that we have looks very similar to what we had here. So if we want to continue this pattern, and if we want May to be extremely bullish, then we definitely need to stay above this. Now, speaking of the RSI, I think this is actually an RSI video, because I'm only talking about the RSI at this point, but you also have to know that on the weekly chart we are about to test the moving average, maybe today, well, actually not today, I'm sorry, maybe in like a couple of weeks, maybe next week or so, if we get some type of bounce. And if we get rejected by this, it could actually be very bearish. I think I was actually making videos about 1 year ago when we tested the moving average and we got rejected by it, and I did tell you that if something like that happened, we could be looking at more sideways price action. And what do you know, we did exactly that. We tested the moving average, we got back above it, but then we got rejected. We did not use it as support, and well, that got us another low right here, and then just a bunch of sideways price action. So we kind of need to get back above it. We already got rejected once right here when we went up in a B wave, and well, right now this is important, so this is what you need to know about the weekly chart. Now, do you need to know anything else? Well, if you watched any of my other couple of videos, then you probably already know what's going on in the market. You probably already know that I'm expecting Bitcoin to drop in the summer, like I did, for example, in 2013 and in 2017 and in 2021. Now, the question is it going to drop right now, or is it going to drop in the next, like, let's say actually in June? And well, that depends on what happens next. Now, if we go in the first cycle, the summer drop actually started in April, so it's not really a summer drop, but it was a drop that, ended after July, well, actually in the middle of July, I think. And the same thing happened in 2017 right here. The summer drop actually started in the summer, I think in the second week of June. So that's why I think that in this cycle we have time until June to actually do something. And well, this was a 38% drop and it lasted like 35 days. So don't expect the summer drop to, last like 5 million years. It's probably going to last like a month or so, but it's going to be pretty deep, especially if it's as deep as the other couple of corrections we saw in the other couple of bull markets. So I mean, like I said right here, this was a 38% drop. In the first cycle, I think this was an 80% drop, and in the previous cycle, it was a 50% drop. So we kind of need Bitcoin to hurry up and get to all-time highs, because if we get this drop, which by the way, it's not guaranteed that we will get it, but I mean, at this point, it happened every single cycle, so maybe it's safe to assume that we will get it. So if that happens, what Bitcoin needs to do before we do that is get to new all-time highs, and then we could drop right here and we could drop back to 100k. Now, why 100k? Why am I talking about 100k again? Well, because if you look at where Bitcoin dropped in the past, well, actually in this cycle so far, after going up here, we dropped like 22% and we dropped to 25k. Then after we went up here, we dropped like 33% and we dropped to 50k. And then right now, after going up right here, we dropped 30% and we went to 75k. So I think the next low has a very high chance of being about 100k if we actually get that summer drop. Now, maybe the summer drop is not going to happen, and in that case, well, there's also the scenario that Bitcoin just goes up during the summer and the altcoins finally start doing something during the summer. I don't know if that will happen or not. I don't really have a crystal ball. And some people in the comments are actually making fun of that because, I mean, I'm not telling you where the price will go because I don't know. I'm just telling you where it could go and, well, what you could do with that information. So I still think that Cardano has a big chance of getting to all-time highs, or at least near all-time highs by the end of the second week. Well, actually, yeah, by the end of the second week of June. And I know I said the end of May, but we have to look at the data and look at when Bitcoin actually dropped in the previous cycle. Well, actually not the previous cycle, but the 2017 cycle. And when you look at the data, it started dropping in the second week of June. So we have time until then. And well, if ADA does not manage to do that, and if Bitcoin actually gets that summer drop, we could actually have some kind of extremely bad, let's just say, move to the downside. Now, there's also another scenario that I don't think I've ever talked about, and that is that we actually get the summer drop, but the altcoins do not actually go down, and that's what makes Bitcoin dominance drop. That's also a possibility considering the fact that Bitcoin dominance is at cycle highs right now. So please keep that in mind. If that does happen, I mean, it will make the Bitcoin dominance chart go down, yes, but that's not really gonna be an altcoin season if everything drops and if the altcoins just go sideways. Yes, that could theoretically be called an altcoin season, but are you gonna like that? I don't think I'm gonna like that if Bitcoin just drops and the altcoins just go like this for like 2 months or so and Bitcoin dominance just drops like 40% during that time. It's not gonna be pretty and it's definitely not gonna be a good altcoin season. So what we need to do right now is find a low on the Ethereum chart, and then Bitcoin still needs to hurry up and get to all-time highs by the end of the second week of June. And the Cardano chart is most likely going to do the exact same thing after Bitcoin dominance finds some kind of top. So I think we're very close to breaking out of this structure, and once we do, we could get to all-time highs extremely fast. I mean, the previous cycle right here, Cardano went from like 12 cents all the way up to like $12.40, and like what was this, like a couple of months, like 3 or 4 months. So it's definitely possible for Cardano to get to all-time highs again by the end of the year, or, well, actually not or, but and by the end of the second week of May, actually the second week of June. I'm sorry, I keep making mistakes. I don't really have anything else to say. So that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.